I'm Jack Sebben. Uh, hey everybody, I'm Jack, and today I am gonna do the unspeakable, the unthinkable, the craziest thing you could possibly do, the most wildest, most ferocious thing I've ever done in my life. Maybe it's not that extreme or that crazy, but in this video today, I am going to try something really cool with a set of unicycle cranks. These brand spanking new Mad4One Tecno cranks. These are dual hole 136mm and 117mm cranks, and I'm going to try and make them into a custom 117mm in length Mad4One Tecno crank. This is a really weird task because I don't think anybody's done this before. Not to mention these are brand new cranks, so you know, you gotta shed a tear for the fact that I'm going to this length to experiment on something like this, because, you know, cranks cost money. You guys are about to see a custom length Mad4One crank, and I'm gonna show you supposedly how to do that today. If I'm successful, fingers crossed, pretty please, wish upon a star. I wish upon a fish. If you know me, I'm an experimenter. So I like to try new things, and I've never rode a 117mm Mad4One Tecno crank, so here we go. Let's see if I'm able to pull this off. Woo! Well, the cranks are done, and I don't know if surprised is the right word. So to start, I took the cranks to a workshop that I'm currently employed at and decided to use their kind of like chop saw for cutting metal. I was actually really nervous because I spent a lot of money and a lot of time waiting for those cranks just so I could cut them up and scratch them just to experiment and see if this was gonna work out. But eventually I mustered up the courage and I took the plunge. I set them on there and tried to line them up as best I can. So I tried to cut the crank as close as I could to the start of the second hole. That way I could leave as much meat to the pedal, like as much meat as I could to the pedal area so that, you know, it wouldn't crack or break there, which was one thing that I was really nervous about. But I went for the cut and it went pretty well actually, and as you can see in some of these, you can even see the threads, like the start of the threads of the second hole, which I thought was actually pretty cool. After doing this was where I was starting to get kind of excited. I mean, I had this kind of rush where I thought, this could possibly work. I could have a custom 117 crank. What? I got a little bit of the nerves, but now those nerves have gone and I was just purely excited. The next step I needed to do though was to shave down these edges. Like, the cranks were super sharp because obviously I just cut them, so it was like a really sharp edge, like sharp to the touch, and obviously you don't want to be doing rolls or landing on edges like that and cutting yourself. So I decided to take these cranks over to the grind wheel. I turned on the grind wheel and just started carving away at the edges, and I mean, it took some time, it took quite a while, but eventually I started seeing results, and eventually I had the cranks to what I thought was smooth enough to be rideable and, you know, not hurt me and to be safe. I wasn't really satisfied with the finish or the look of the cranks, so that's when I decided that I was going to try and take off all the coloring to make it just kind of like a raw silver color. This is where I took out the ankle grinder and thought I'd have a go at it. It was taking a while and I wasn't having much luck, so I thought to myself, like, there's gotta be a better way to do this. So I decided to go back to the grind wheel again and try my luck out with the wire bristle side of the wheel. And to my surprise, this wire bristle side actually worked way better, way faster, and it gave a way nicer finish than the ankle grinder could ever do. I was getting kind of nervous though because the wires on the bristles were getting really close to the pedal threads, and I tried to stay away from the threads just because of these sharp metallic wires possibly damaging the threads. And there were a couple times where the wires actually did kind of go into the pedal holes. If your pedal threads are damaged, I would basically be out of my money and out of these cranks, and I would have wasted all that time. So I was really nervous and hoping that I had not damaged the threads at all. I decided to get out some sandpaper and try to kind of polish up the finish, and I also found out around here that I'm a little too good at this motion and I should probably stop. Stop doing sandpapering, that is. And finally, I was done what I had set out to do. The cranks were done. The cranks were finished. But now it came down to the big moment. How do they ride, and do they ride good? I took these cranks to the skate park, and this is where I found out whether I had damaged the threads or not. And the pedal threads worked. The pedals threaded in perfectly fine, and the cranks fit right on my uni just fine. I thought the cranks looked really cool. Like, I liked that boxy aesthetic that they kind of had. And I mean, they were a little thin at the pedal part, but that was okay. I'm just hoping they don't break. I was really surprised to find that the 3mm difference in length that I usually ride actually made a difference. I found my flips were just subtly more stable and a little more snappy, but I still was able to flow really well. I really like them. I'm actually going to continue riding them, and I've already had a few street rides on them to test them, and I haven't seen any cracks or anything like that around the pedals, so I think they work. I think they actually work. You can do it. You can really modify these cranks and make them just like this. Like, you can find a custom size, dual hole or triple hole, and cut them to size if you want. But I also have to say, I'm not going to take responsibility if you screw it up, or if something bad happens. I would hate to be responsible for you wasting your money on cranks and messing it up. But that's on you. I'm not responsible for that. I did it. I did it and it worked. Well, and that's how I modified a dual hole Mad4One crank. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this. If you guys know of anybody who has done this, or if you guys want to personally do this yourselves, please leave a comment and tell me if you know anybody or if you've thought about doing this yourself, because I'm honestly curious to see. And if you really like this video, please leave a like. It really helps me out, and it lets the YouTube algorithm know that, like, hey, people like this, so maybe we should push this out to more people. And I would really appreciate that. So, thank you so much. Peace.